2020 Candidate Forum hosted by McMinnville Kiwanis Club. The event is only possible because of the generosity of the Bindery Event Space and McMinnville Community Media. Thank you. Before we begin, I invite you to join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The McMinnville Kiwanis Club has been improving the lives of children in our community for decades. Each year we invest over $60,000 and countless volunteer hours into the youth of McMinnville. Most notably, we partnered with McMinnville Parks and Recreation to bring the first barrier-free park to Yamhill County. This is just one example of many that have made McMinnville a better place for kids. You can find more information on our Facebook page as well as our website. We are always looking for more members. Today, we are happy to continue a long-standing tradition of holding local candidate forums that focus on local issues and policy. This forum will feature our candidates for mayor, incumbent Mayor Hill and challenger Heidi Parker. Thank you both for joining us here today. Each candidate will begin with an opening statement limited to 3 minutes. Our moderator questions come from our committee and will focus on applicable policy and relevant issues facing the city of McMinnville. Each candidate will first have 2 minutes to answer the question, followed by a 1-minute response. Candidates will rotate answering first. If you are viewing virtually and wish to submit a question, you can send it via Facebook Messenger to McMinnville Kiwanis Foundation Facebook page. McMinnville Community Media will be recording the event and airing it on their cable channels as well as their YouTube channel. We will post links as soon as they are available. We will begin with opening statements. Candidates, you will stand at your microphone when it is your turn to speak. Please also keep an eye on our timekeeper to my right to ensure that you complete your statement before your time expires. Our timekeeper will alert you when you have 60 seconds remaining and then count down from there. Your time will start when you begin speaking. We're going to begin with an opening statement from Scott Hill. You have 3 minutes.
I'd like to first thank Sam for being a moderator this evening or this afternoon. I'd like to thank the Kiwanis Club and all the other city clubs throughout our community that give such service to us in the community with their selfless time and efforts. And then MCM, which is a great partner to the city in being able to bring and broadcast critical things to our citizens. Let me share just a little of my background. We have lived in McMinnville for 28 years. I have worked in McMinnville for 24 years. I've been retired for 6 years. I'm a 30-year-old banker in commercial and retail banking. The thing that I'd like to share, though, is I love this community. I had an opportunity to pick the location where I worked. And with Key Bank of Oregon, I took an assignment here. I fell in love with McMinnville the moment we drove down 3rd Street. And when I looked around and I saw churches and I saw vibrant businesses, I saw a 3rd Street that was where you'd want to work and where you'd want to be able to buy goods and services. That was the thing that touched my heart and my family's heart. Today, when I drive down 3rd Street, which I've done twice today, I have that same feeling. As I drive down. I love this community. I love the livability. I've had an opportunity to serve many hours in this community in community service, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce, the McMinnville Downtown Association, United Way. There are many, many things that I've been able to serve, and that's because of the ability of being a banker and bankers serving the community. I have served on the Budget Committee for 26 years. I have served for 12 years as a city councilor in Ward 1. I have also had the opportunity to serve as the council president for 2 years and 4 years as your mayor. I love the opportunity to serve. I love to be able to get my hands and my feet and my whole body into the work that we do here in the city. It is a city that's filled with livability, a heritage, a legacy that I'm just proud to be a part of. And so with that, I share my desire to run for re-election because I love this community and I want to keep it on a path that will bring livability to everyone.
Thank you, Scott. Heidi, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Good afternoon. My name is Heidi Parker. First, I'd like to thank you guys for having me today. Kiwanis, you're a great member of our community and really appreciate you putting this on each election. So, I came to McMinnville in 2016. I'm originally from Montana, and I moved to Temecula, California when I was in high school. And subsequently after that, I've lived in New Jersey, Nevada, and now McMinnville. We retired here in 2016 when my husband got out of the Marine Corps in 2014. We came up here on a road trip and fell in love with the community. Driving down 3rd Street reminded me of the little main street in our town in Montana, in Red Lodge, where you just have the community is out and about and everybody's talking to each other and you're waving hi to your neighbor and it was really nostalgic, and so I said, this is where I want to be. So we moved up here, bought a home. We're really enjoying the community, at which time my husband at the time worked at YCAP. And Dustin Court, Marsh Lane, and 4th Street became a homeless camp. And it was quite disparaging and discouraging for our very small community. I then got involved, started volunteering, started with Cheerleader Foundation, Homeward Bound Pets, the VRU, trying to learn what we could do to help in the community. And it has manifested into an online group that I started called AIM, Action and MAP. And the community came to me and said, would you run for office? So I am looking forward to bringing a new, fresh perspective to our community, to getting more people involved, and making McMinnville an amazing place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin with our questions. As a reminder, you will each have 2 minutes to answer the question within an additional 1-minute rebuttal each. I am happy to repeat a question at any time. We'll start with Scott Hill. In your eyes, what is the role of mayor in McMinnville?
The mayor of McMinnville is elected for a 4-year term to represent the people of this community. They are not a voting member of the city council, but they are there to enact to make sure that the council is following what they need to follow. I see the mayor of McMinnville, one that reaches out and gets involved and represents the city. Thus, my community work that has gone on for many, many years helps me accomplish that. I think also, from my perspective, the mayor also is a position that you learn to accomplish. And so my time on the budget committee, understanding the financial piece is so critical. Being a city councilor and a council president has provided the opportunity for me to be a successful mayor. I learned every single day as a mayor today, even after 28 years of experience, I'm continuing to learn what I need to do as a mayor. When I became mayor, I took myself off of every committee as a liaison. And I go to every committee, though, all 10 of them, as a citizen, as an individual. I walk into the room, I'm a mayor, I can't take that title off, but I'm not a member of the community because I want to listen to the citizens of McMinnville, what they need to have and what they want to have happen. So for me, the mayor is a working individual. Typically, I put 25 hours a week in. During the COVID time, that's gone up to 40 hours a week because government only wants to talk to elected officials. So with that being said, bringing the council together, that we're an effective body, being able to set policy and procedure is the responsibility of the mayor.
Thank you, Scott. Heidi, same question goes to you. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, thank you. So the role of a mayor is to be the leader of your city. Now, we have a weak mayoral system here in McMinnville, in that our mayor really doesn't have a lot of power. Our mayor only votes in the event of a tie, which I think has only happened 3 times in the history of McMinnville. So your job as mayor is to just be a steadfast individual for your community, to give somebody something to look up to be the rock for the people. When COVID hit, you know, our community was frightened and they were scared and they didn't know what to do. Our nation didn't know what to do. And the community will look to your leaders first and foremost for guidance on what to do. During that time, we didn't see Mayor Hill. I think there was one video that was out for 47 seconds that said, go to my website and God bless. I reached out to the community. My phone was blowing up. There was people saying, hey, what are we doing? What's happening? What do we do next? Are we okay? Our seniors. I jumped in, I got my feet wet, I put together food boxes. I personally hand-delivered 75 food boxes in 48 hours when COVID first hit and we were in lockdown. To me, that's a mayor. When people come to you, ask you for help, ask you for assistance, and you are there, you stay the course. You lead with an open heart and a firm hand, and you let everybody know that it will be okay. And if you don't have the answer, that's okay. You don't need to have the answer. But just to let your constituents and your citizens know that you're there for them is what's important. So you can say, this is new, we've never seen a pandemic before, but I'm working with you, I'm here with you each and every day, putting out daily, videos, calls, emails, Facebook flyers, anything, just to let people know that you're always there for them.
Thank you. Scott Hill, you now have 1 minute to respond.
Well, I appreciate Heidi's ability to get out and to work and her action in McMinnville. But as I indicated, I have typically put 25 hours a week into being mayor. As the COVID came around, that has increased up to 40 to 50 hours a week. I don't hide, I'm out there, I'm talking to those that are dealing with the policy, and I am the information coming from government, from both federal, state, and county, comes through me. So indeed, as mayor, I am very, very involved. I'm talking to the people, I'm representing the city, and doing the best I can to bring services and help together during this time of COVID.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute to respond.
So Mayor Hill states that he donates 25 hours a week to being mayor. We are a city of 34,000 people. Yes, this is an unpaid position, ladies and gentlemen, but Mayor Hill was quoted on Amplified on October 6th as stating that being the mayor of McMinnville is a hobby to him, that he donates 20 to 25 hours a week. This is not a hobby. This is a job. Yes, we take it voluntarily to save our city funds, but I would give you 40 hours a week starting day one. I would take this job absolutely seriously. I would give it all of my time. It's actually quite disturbing and upsetting to me to hear that he only devoted 20 to 25 hours a week as being mayor prior to COVID-19, because that explains a lot of the issues that we have in our community. A lot of our issues started way before COVID-19, and we needed a mayor at that time and a leader at that time that was giving us 40 to 50 hours a week then. Thank you.
Heidi, you will answer this next question first. The city of McMinnville has a long storied past with state-mandated urban growth boundary. Describe your position on the future growth of the city, both as it relates to the specific land use work currently being done, as well as the future growth of development needs of the city.
So as many of you know, our UGB is a very complicated process. It is something that has been going on in McMinnville for many years. It was something that should have been developed and expanded years ago. We're way behind on schedule for that. I absolutely support expanding our UGB where it makes sense. That is something that the City Council is currently working on, will most likely pass this year by December, and that is much needed. We are seeing some developments going on out on Hill Road and out on the outskirts of town, as we have very limited land use in our city limits left. There really is no place to build any more homes. We have very tiny pockets that wouldn't really accommodate any sort of development. So we do need to build out. But in that, we also have to be sensitive to the needs of our farmers and our landowners. And we don't just go bulldoze them and take away their land or their multi-generational properties that they have worked really hard for. So it's a very delicate process, and there is a lot of emotions and a lot of opinions weighing in on our UGB process. It's something that cannot be taken lightly. We need to take it very seriously, but we also need to act quickly while listening intently to the individuals that it affects.
Thank you. Scott, same question for you. You have 2 minutes.
The urban growth boundary situation has been something that we've been working on for approximately 30 years. We've spent well over $1 million in working on the process of being able to hit the state mandate that says we need to have 20 years of usable land available. We don't set those goals. The state sets those goals of what our population is going to look like in 20 years. We are fortunate to be in a very fertile valley, and all the lands around us are Class 1 agricultural lands. But at the same token, you know, for us to grow and to be able to go where we need to go, you'd either have to tear down what we've got and build multi-stories, you build up, or you build out. McMinnville has a history of being very cautious with our land and taking care of it the right way. Again, we've had an opportunity to refine the urban growth boundary over the last, well, 3 years. And we started again from at the very beginning of bringing all the players, the 1,000 Friends of Yamhill County, 1,000 Friends of Oregon together to build a plan. And we hit a roadblock again. And so now what we're doing is we're taking the 2011 remand that had one area that was brought back to the courts to us that we need to address. We've addressed that. And as of last week, the 1,000 Friends of Yamhill County, 1,000 Friends of Oregon are in agreement with our new plan. And we will have that to LUBA by the end of December, and then we go through a process. We have to go to the county, they have to agree, but that will bring land values down, giving us the ability to have more affordable housing for every citizen of McMinnville.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute to respond.
In my 1 minute, I just want to make it perfectly clear to the ladies and gentlemen of McMinnville that as I am for conservative growth with the UGB where it makes sense, I absolutely am against turning McMinnville into a metropolitan place. There is no room for that. We don't want that here. I have listened to the citizens of McMinnville, and they don't want that here either. There's a few members of our current city council that are for that and have received donations from big developers to their campaigns because they are for expanding on a very large level, and that is something that I'm not for. So again, I just want to reiterate that I am for expanding the UGB very slowly, where it makes sense, as we need it, not making huge developments, and then homes that sit empty because we do not have people in the city that can buy them. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you. The ability to work with the Home Builders Association, I think, is very important as we are working with the contractors and the builders in this community. No promises have been made from anyone that has taken money. All of the candidates had an opportunity to go before them. I think it's very important to know when we're talking about the urban growth boundary, right now, a piece of property that's 100 by 50 is running us $150,000 just for the land. Now, you put a tent on that, okay, that's affordable housing. You and I would not want to live on in a tent on a 100 by 50 piece of land. The urban growth boundary is going to be critical for us to be able to get the land in a place where we have enough supply to hit the demand and not having to pay a premium price. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a reminder for our audience listening or watching virtually, if you wish to submit a question, you can send it via Facebook Messenger to McMinnville Kiwanis Foundation Facebook page. Please keep in mind that questions need to be directed to both candidates. For our next question, Scott, you will answer this one first. An area that local businesses have identified as important is a need for a robust and healthy labor force. Additionally, as COVID has demonstrated, we need a diversely skilled workforce and diverse job sector. What should the city's role be in helping, and describe how you would address this identified issue?
Well, thank you for that question. Again, livability is all about being able to live within a community within the bounds that are kind of set. And the land problem is a real problem for us. I'll tell you, we have a partnership with the McMinnville Economic Development Group, and we and the McMinnville Water and Light are working hand in hand of bringing quality industrial and trade sector jobs to this community. We were in a debate the other night that one of the candidates said that we've not seen any growth. But last night in Mac Water and Light, when McMinnville Economic Development came in and gave a report, we're having great success right now of bringing industry into McMinnville, out in the industrial park. And so it's always going to be an effort on our part to work with the partnershiping to make sure that our employers can have a place for their employees to live. Right now, 40% of our people in McMinnville, whether they rent or whether they have a mortgage, they are mortgage or rent burdened, which means more than 30% of their salary is going towards housing. That's another thing that's so critical for us, is to get the rent and the housing down to a point where people don't have to live outside of our community and come in to be able to work. Because when a job becomes available where they live, that's where they go. So it's an orchestrated process of being able to help one another in this time of trying to truly make McMinnville livable for everyone.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 2 minutes.
So this is a complicated issue right now because of the fact that if we didn't have COVID-19, it would simply just be about getting jobs and bringing industries into our town and giving employment. But it's a wider version than that. There is a bigger problem. Right now, in McMinnville, Express Employment has 300 jobs available. We have jobs, there's jobs here, but it goes on a much larger scale. Because of COVID-19, we have to homeschool our youth, so our parents are not able to go to work right now because they don't have childcare. Childcare in our community right now is a huge problem. There is none, and the little bit that is accessible to people is outrageously expensive. Ladies and gentlemen of McMinnville, I had a single mother contact me a couple days ago, and she says to me, "Could you help? I am a single mom. I only, have my income, and my rent is $1,250, and my child care is $1,200. That takes my whole paycheck. I am now living on credit cards to buy groceries and pay for gas and insurance. Is there any affordable child care in our community?" And I looked into it. And if you're overqualified for DHS, there isn't. You're paying this exorbitant amount. So that hinders us. We have to look at the bigger pond. We have to look at all of the problems. We're not just tunnel visioned into one thing. It's absolutely, we can bring in industries and jobs, in the near future as we expand. But right now there are jobs here. The issue is that we have to get through COVID. We have to support each other. We have to make sure that we have all avenues covered as far as childcare and transportation and accessibility to these jobs. Because right now, people can't get to them. They're stuck at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
During this COVID time, I think the best thing that the city can do is in supporting small businesses so they can keep their doors open, and that those citizens working in those businesses continue to receive a paycheck. And so, as Adam has talked about a little earlier in his presentation tonight, we have, in partnership with Business Oregon, we put $200,000 out in this community to help relieve some of the stress and pain of the COVID. And again, we only had we only gave out $57,000, but we'll get that money back. And then the next thing that we're looking at is partnering with the Council of Governments in a 3-county area where we're going to be able to bring loans at lower interest and longer repayments to help our businesses remain in business so that our citizens of McMinnville can remain employed.
Thank you, Heidi. You have 1 minute.
As Mayor Hill stated earlier too, we also have the McMinnville Economic Development Partnership, MEDP, and they're working very diligently and bringing in jobs and working on that in our community. So it's really not our risk, they're handling that. But here's the thing, it is our job as a mayor to reach out to the community and take the pulse of what's happening right here, right now, and the near future of what we need to take back to the city council and to the people and see what needs to be addressed. So yes, we absolutely need to support our current local small businesses and make sure they're staying open. The city council did a good job in bringing in some money for that. It's unfortunate that some of the businesses couldn't take part of that due to the fact that they had already received their PPE loans. But you know what? We continue to support them the best they can and stay open and support our families and keep McMinnville afloat until we can get past this. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi, you will answer this next question first. If you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
Well, there's kind of two things. One would be that I feel like our industrial zone is a little bit too close to some of our residential zone, and some of our residential areas are really convoluted in that you will have a single story and then a duplex and then an apartment complex. And it doesn't flow correctly, for lack of better terms. It doesn't, our city, we grew too fast for a very small area, and now we're trying to make up for it, and then as we're also trying to grow larger. So I would change our industrial areas. We need to find a place where we can possibly in the future put an RV camp. Should I be your mayor, that's something I absolutely want to look into. That is one of my top issues, is to help and facilitate finding better establishments for our homeless community. What we're doing now is not working. Shuffling them from park to park and street to street isn't working. We did instigate the overnight camping program. That didn't take off as well as we had hoped. Remy did a really great job working on that, but it didn't facilitate as many people as we had hoped it would. So going forward, we definitely need to make it a priority to locate a place where our houseless individuals can be.
Thank you. Mayor Hill, the same question goes to you.
The zoning that is of greatest concern to me is one that was passed in the last House session, the full House and legislative session. It's called House Bill 2001. And this is what the legislature has done with a broad paintbrush to take care of livability in our communities. And what they're doing is saying it doesn't matter whether you're living in residential 1, 2, 3, or 4. We now have to make availability, the ability to put duplexes, triplexes, sixplexes in a housing development where the land would allow that to happen. That scares me. That takes livability away from a community. And it's a broad brush stroke that legislatively they've done to take care of the problem from their perspective. But when it comes down to the city where we have competent people that are trying to build community and building subdivisions that are appropriate, we really are hurting from that perspective. So that is the number one zoning thing that is of concern to me. Secondarily, you got to understand that we have a master plan for building, and we are held accountable to that. And we have to have a certain amount of commercial and a certain amount of industrial, and we have to have a certain amount of residential land, all based upon that urban growth boundary and the plan that we have. And so we now are working on great neighborhood plans, and we put tremendous effort into that process so that when we build neighborhoods, that we can have spaces for gas stations and small stores so you don't have to travel all the other way to our land, and so to the other side of the city. So in reality, the ability to follow up on the things that we are working on with good, competent planning individuals helps us.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute to respond.
That sounds amazing. That's awesome. It sounds like it's going to be really beautiful. My concern is not for the financially sound individuals that can go out and buy a $400,000 house in a new planning community with parks and a gas station and grocery stores. My prime focus for our community is going to be our blue-collar workers, those single parents or those married couples that are on the edge every single month, the ones that are struggling, that are barely keeping their head above water. How are we helping them? How are we benefiting them with our rents and mortgages and loans for them? My prime focus is not the ones that are already self-sufficient. My prime focus as mayor will be to reach out to the individuals of our community that need a helping hand and that are just trying to stay above water. And that is my prime focus. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
Again, the ability to work within the structure that is placed in government is so critical, and that's why experience is so important from my perspective. We can't step out and do things that are outside of our privy as a city, and we're held bound by state statute, and zoning and livability issues are very defined. And so from my perspective, we need to put principles that are time tested, such as great neighborhood principles, into place. We need to take a look at a little more higher density because of not having the land that's appropriate, but having parks that are interspersed with that so that people feel that they're living in livable areas. There are many things we need to do, but we need to follow the statutes that are found within the laws that are set by the state.
Thank you. Scott, you will answer this next question first, and we are responding to a question that came into our Facebook feed. So, how should concerns from residents be brought forward to the mayor and council be handled? And what is more important, acting in response to the will of the people or acting in the way city officials believe is the best course of action?
That's a very, very good question. Again, this is where I come back and say that I love my involvement at the city level because it's not politically oriented. It's bipartisan. That allows members of the city council, it allows the mayor to listen to everyone and not have an agenda. I'm really concerned that some of those that are running against the current city council has an agenda, and that's going to prevent them from listening openly to everyone. How we get involved is you come to meetings, and right now it's very easy. You can do that on Zoom. You can go to committees. I'll tell you, we're seeing a change. We had an interview process this last week. We had 2 openings on the budget committee, and we had 9 individuals that were posting for that. We're seeing some engagement at the city level. It is so critical to have input and listen to people. I have a phone number that's published, an email that's published, and I'm getting upwards of 20, 30 emails a day that I either respond to myself or push that out to the experts that are on the city staff. It's critical for me to know that we need to help the leadership part and build leadership within this community so there are people that feel comfortable to come and participate in the dialogue. I'll tell you right now, the Latinx population is about 27% of our city. And they historically, from a cultural standpoint, don't trust government. We need to help them to trust government and feel like they can have their voices heard, and we're taking a proactive reach of working and trying to bring them to the plate. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for you, Heidi. You have 2 minutes.
sure I answer the question and don't go off.
Sure. It's a lot of questions in this question. How should concerns from residents be brought forward to the mayor and council be handled? And what is more important, acting in response to the will of the people or acting in the way city officials believe is the best course of action?
Transparency is really important, and if you are a citizen and you have a problem and you bring it forward to the mayor, it is our duty to answer you. Whether we agree or disagree or we even have an answer for you right now, it is paramount that we respond. I've had several constituents reach out to me and say, I emailed you and you got right back to me. I have emailed Mayor Hill and he says he's out of town with family and would get back to me on Monday. And that was 3 weeks ago and I have yet to hear back. Mayor Hill has been on the city council for 16 years. And he was quoted in the paper as saying that, I don't want to misquote, so that is, he's so focused on his work that sometimes he forgets to slow down and listen to the citizens of McMinnville. But yet his political platform is, there's no shortcut for experience. Well, if you're 16 years of experience, then how do you not know to listen to your citizens? Why do you need to be told now, 16 years later, to slow down and listen to your constituents? It's very important that we be open-minded and hear everybody, whether we like it or not. That is something I'll work on myself. Going forward, it is a difficult time. This is a very polarized campaign. It has been very difficult at times. I have taken a lot of heat, but I have steadfast. I have stood in the fire. I have kept my head held high, and I will continue to do that for McMinnville going forward.
Thank you. Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
I think one of the greatest things that we did, we started 2 years ago, and it's been 18 months ago that we started a process of developing a strategic plan. We had over 100 individuals come in and share with us what their priorities were. We had another over 1,000 individuals through a survey share what their priorities are. We've taken that information in and we've created a strategic plan that's going to be our road for the next 15 years. And we update that every year, and it's a guiding light to the not only the city council but to each of our departments. We are on a path that has been built from having input from community members across the board. And I take great pride in being able to say that that is the direction, and we're listening and we're moving forward.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute to respond.
In the same news article, Mayor Hill was quoted as saying that I'm hanging my hat on my passion and not listening to what the community is saying. Look around, ladies and gentlemen, we're 10 square miles. There are 350 campaign signs of mine throughout our town. Every single one of those signs had to have permission to be placed where they are. That's the citizens speaking. I am listening. I am hearing you loud and clear. You want change. You want different. You want somebody to stand up for you. I am ready to be your voice for your action and going forward, and no longer complacent or only thinking this is a hobby or you're only going to get 20 or 25 hours a week because I don't get paid. I don't care that I don't get paid. I will give this job everything I have, like I have for the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi, you will answer this next question first. Homelessness in the country, state, and McMinnville seems to be a growing, multifaceted issue. What specific new steps should the city take to address homelessness locally?
So like I said before, everybody wants to say we're in a house crisis. We don't have a housing crisis in McMinnville. We have a homeless and drug addiction crisis. We have an affordable housing problem. Our houses are quite expensive for the income that our citizens have here. Going forward, I definitely want to make our homeless problem a priority. People think I'm harsh and that I don't, that I want to push them out of town or that I don't want you here. That is absolutely not the case. Am I a little bit of a, tough love type person? Yes. If you want a hand up, I'm going to be the first person there to give you a hand up. And those of you in the community that have reached out to me know that that's the truth. But if you're here to just sit in a town that is the county seat and has all the resources and not be a productive member of society, then no, I'm not going to help you. And if that sounds harsh, I'm sorry, but it is the truth. We need to focus on the individuals in our community that need our help and that actually want to make a difference and be a productive member of society. We have the Housing First Ready model, and I don't like it. My husband worked at Whitecap for 18 months and housed 42 veterans. Out of those 42, probably more than half are already back on the streets. We're putting people in homes before we're fixing the problem. We need to address the problem first, get them self-sufficient, get them ready, then place them in housing. I think it will be a lot more successful. Going forward, I absolutely want to find a place for our RVs to be and camp, that they're not and live, that is not in our parks and on our roadways. We can't do multis anymore. That's not an option. That's off the table. So we need to find another solution. I absolutely like Clackamas County's veteran village that is very successful. I'd like to look into that into our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to you, Scott.
Homeless is a issue that no city in America has been able to be successful with. And I can say in McMinnville, we are striving so very hard to come up with a program in a way that takes care of those that are without homes and protecting those that own homes and our citizens. We had reached out a number of years ago when I first became mayor. One of the churches allowed homeless to go on their property, and it became a real bad situation where at nights we had noise and the residents around that church couldn't sleep at night. And so we enacted a camping ban. As soon as we put that together, we also went to the city of Eugene and we brought all of the experts from Eugene because they're seen as a city that's been very proactive. And we listened to them and we were trained, and we brought a camping program that allows campers and cars to be on private property and on church property. And it took them 15 years to accomplish that in Eugene. It took us 6 months to put that ordinance into place here. We just didn't have the buy-in from the churches yet because of just not, it takes a lot of time to build trust. What we've been able to do then is we came up with a camping ban, and then the Ninth Circuit Court came out and said you can't do that. And many people don't understand that if you don't follow what the courts say, you could be hundreds of thousands of dollars into court costs, which cost our taxpayers. So we had to back off of that. Okay, we had an opportunity then through our police chief, Matt Scales, found a program in Vancouver, Washington that worked very effectively. We've put that into place, and the cars and the campers are off the street today. Homeless are still abounding us. We're still working on it, but we're having dialogue that's working every single day to address that.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 1 minute.
I think it's very important for everybody to understand that our budget is taxed. People think that there's a lot of reserves and a lot of money in our city budget because when you look at the budget that is 355 pages long, it looks like there's a lot of funds there. But being the county seat, we also have a lot of expenses. It is very important for us to lean on and work well with our 501c3s. McMinnville has 203 501c3s on the books. I want to mainstream with these individuals and these communities our Gospel Rescue Mission, YCAP, Provoking Hope, Champion Team, See You Later Foundation, anybody that wants to come to the table and work together to organize, mainstream, and utilize our resources to the best of our ability so that we can find an actual solution. There are nobler minds than mine that have to come to the table before and have never found a solution for our homeless crisis that plagues our nation, but I want to try. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
Again, I'm very much aware of these individuals and these organizations that are working to help the homeless. I meet with them often. Prior to COVID, I was able with Commissioner Kula to put together a group that talked about coming up with a county solution because that's where the dollars are. As we've said many times, We cannot get community block grants like the Portlands and the Eugenes and the Salems. We have to work within the budget that we have. We do not have a surplus, okay? We have a 15% rainy day type of fund that we would be able to use in emergency, and that covers 2 months worth of our expenses. So we need to work within the parameters that we have, work with the partners, and we are meeting on a constant basis. This last week, I've had 2 cases that I've taken to the champion team to help individuals that are homeless, but also individuals that have been approached by homeless and are scared. So we're working on that on a daily basis.
Thank you. We're going to squeeze in one more question before the closing statements. There's been a noticeable increase in divisiveness in elections, both nationally and locally, including the mayoral race. If elected, how will you reach across the aisle to hear and represent those who did not support your candidacy? And Scott, you will go first.
The ability to bring a team together is so critical. And that's why I am so honored that although I may not agree with everyone on city council, and we have our opportunities to share our opinions, we have a working agreement. And so from a city council perspective, I have 100% support or endorsement from the existing city council, something that I have worked very hard to bring together. I'll tell you, those that are running against the current city council, my whole thought is get involved in the process. We've got committees, and you can bring your thoughts to the plate and be a part of our discussions. I share with my constituents that I've taken myself off of every single committee in the city, and I go as a guest. I don't get to sit around the table. I sit back against the wall. I don't get to vote. I don't get to, unless they call on me from time to time, they do, but they can call on anyone. But I go as a guest. And so those are ways that individuals can get involved and share their opinions, because guests can always share their opinions. I'll tell you, the ability to come and share your thoughts during the comments at City Council is another way of doing it. Picking up the telephone and calling and having a discussion. There are great ideas that are being shared during this campaign. I'll tell you, I'm going to be a bit of a different mayor because of the events and the things that I've had to do in this campaign. I have met so many more people that I typically wouldn't have, that have come out and made those phone calls, made those calls, and come and visited me. So again, that may be the way that I'm going to change and bring unity back to the council and to government within McMinnville.
Thank you. Heidi, you have 2 minutes.
Wow, this is my question, I suppose, is if anybody who's following this election. So here's the thing. Frankly, I'm disgusted at a few people and the way people have behaved during this campaign. And I'm a straight shooter, and I call it like I see it. This campaign, when I was asked to run by the city citizens, they came to me and they said, you know, it's going to be rough. You're changing the tide. We want you to go in and break up the old guard and bring new light and vibrant energy to our city council. That's not going to be easy, but we've watched you over the last 2 years, and we've seen how strong you are, and we think you can do it. They weren't kidding. This campaign has been ruthless. The attacks not only on myself, but on other candidates is frankly unacceptable. We have had people attacked for their religion, being called racist. I have been attacked from every angle on every platform. But I can stand here today and tell you, should I be honored to be your next mayor, it's all gone. It is. That's what campaigning is. That's what running for politics is. It's muddy waters, and that's why they call it mudslinging. And you have to be tough enough to stand up and take the heat. I said from day one, I think, and I commented to the News Register way before I even decided to run, that if you're going to run for politics, you live in a fishbowl. So you better damn well know how to swim. I can swim, ladies and gentlemen. I've proven that over the last 6 months. I've stood up to every single attack. I've held my head high. I have not lowered myself to it. I've denounced it multiple times to my camp and to my side. I've reached out to Mayor Hill, asked him to do the same. He chose silence. That's his choice. Silence is acceptance. It's not acceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the behavior that has taken place is irreprehensible, and it needs to stop.
Scott, you have 1 minute to respond.
I appreciate Heidi's concern, but I can tell you that my integrity and my approach is not to go after anyone, and I have not gone after anyone. There are people that are on social media. There's a fury that's going on out there, but I'm not adding to it. I can promise you the things I report are factual, they're good, and they're talking about who and what I am. I'll tell you from my perspective, I don't want to have politics at the local level. It's nonpartisan. It's about livability. It's about listening. It's about a steady hand. It's about walking the walk and doing and leading by example. And I have 26 years of being able to lead by example. If you don't know who I am and how I handle myself, you're not looking, because it's all around you. And so that's what I'm about, and that's what I will remain to be doing moving forward.
Thank you. For those watching, the phone ringing is our time. Heidi, you have 1 minute to respond.
Mayor Hill stated that he isn't participating in it and it's not coming from his camp. You wear the title of mayor. You are our current leader. You are setting an example. He said he sets an example for our community. Saying nothing is an example of acceptance. Saying nothing is not leading. If I was your current mayor, I absolutely would have stood up and denounced this. Whether it's on social media, in our newspaper, anywhere, that you need to attack people because they make a choice to run for city office. You don't have to agree with my political views. I don't have to agree with yours. But there's this thing called human respect. And that is something that needs to come back in our community. But should I win, should I be elected, I'm going to let it go, and I will work with anybody and everybody that comes forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi, you will have 3 minutes for your closing statement. And we are wrapping this up. Thank you all for hanging in there.
Well, thank you again for having me. This has been quite the campaign. We're going on, I announced day one, and so I have been campaigning since June. I think this is our fourth debate with Mayor Hill, so I think we've had just as many as our POTUS. So that's exciting for our little town that we need to have so many debates, but that's exciting that so many people want to be involved and hear from us and learn about our democracy and how it works going forward. Ladies and gentlemen of McMinnville, I would be honored to be your next mayor. I know I'm new. I know I have a lot to learn, but that's okay. I can bring a vibrant, exciting, refreshing, energetic view to our town. I got teased a little bit. They were saying, oh, you're a cheerleader with your latte. What's wrong with that? We're a weak mayoral system. We only vote if there's a tie, and like Mayor Hill said, we're an example to our community. So what's wrong with being a cheerleader for your community? What's wrong with getting out there and cheering on your local businesses? What's wrong with getting out there and cheering on our youth and our, less fortunate if they get a home or they get an apartment or they find housing or they become self-sufficient or they get their first job? What is wrong with being out and being at an opening of a business and supporting them? The attacks and the cancel culture that individuals want to place on members of our community when they state that they're here to support their businesses is hypocritical. You state that you want what's best for our community while you attack businesses based on who they choose to endorse. But those endorsements say something to you. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they endorsed me. I received well over 25 local business endorsements. That's your businesses speaking up and saying, we want change, we want something different. It's a new era, it's a new time. 2020 has been drastically different for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of changes going forward. I have the energy, the drive, the will, and the love for our community to see us through these hard times. I'm willing to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night and get up at 4 in the morning with my latte and my pom-poms and make McMinnville an amazing place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Scott, you have 3 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, thank you for this opportunity and the opportunity to be able to talk with Heidi about the role as mayor. It has been a privilege for me over the last 26 years to serve this community. I have loved every moment of it. To me, city government is my hobby. I do it because I love it. I choose to do it. I'm not forced into it. It is a sacrifice. I'll tell you, it's a sacrifice that my whole family has been a part of. My children, when they were younger and I was away from them doing budget and city council work. My wife, who doesn't see me as often as she would. And today, as a retired individual, the inability to be able to go and visit my grandchildren as often as I do. But this is where my passion is. This is where my heart is to serve this community. I truly understand the legacy and the heritage which is built into this community. I don't think people that have been here for a few years understand all that we've gone through to make this the special place it is today. It is a special place. It has been acknowledged nationally as one of the best small towns in America. Governance-wise, I'm all over the place. I talk to tremendous people. It's interesting that I have the endorsement of all mayors in Yamhill County. 2 of the county commissioners, as I've said, I have the endorsement of all of the city council. My letters to the editor have shown what people think of me. I have well over 200 that have endorsed me. And they've come to me and not necessarily have I gone to them. Again, I love this community. I am healthy, I am strong, and I'm going to continue, if re-elected, to work with everything I have to continue the legacy and the heritage. And you hear me say that quite a bit, but I have been mentored by some of the best in the business. Ed Gormley, Kent Taylor, Rick Olson. These are individuals that have given their lives to this community, and I will not let you down. And we will build a better city council. We will be more unified in working on the strategic plan, which is what you've told us to work on. And with that all being said, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your support. And I'll do everything in my power to be the most effective I've ever been over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for a productive conversation. As previously stated, the recorded version of this forum will be available by McMinnville Community Media on our cable channels and YouTube. We will be posting links to our Facebook page and club website as soon as they are available. Our website is www.mcminnvillekiwanis.org. Thank you all for joining us virtually. McMinnville Kiwanis currently meets the first and third Wednesdays at noon. Have a great day.
It does.